Good day and welcome to Broncos Storytime. Today's story is entitled The Battle at Trealaw and Dinas Bridge. Our story starts in the Rhondda Valley many years ago and stars many young people from Trealaw and Dinas. Now, Trealaw and Dinas are two villages in the Rhondda on opposite sides of the valley, separated by a river, and are only joined by two bridges. One bridge at the bottom of the Royal Hill for car traffic, and another little footbridge near the Res Social Club, which leads to Dinas Park. Today's story is about what used to happen on this tiny footbridge once a year on March the 1st. The battle at Trealaw and Dinas Bridge. Every year on St. David's Day, March the 1st, the youth of Trealaw and Dinas meet at the bridge and engage in tribal warfare over territorial rights to the bridge. There was no welcome in the hillside between the two warring factions on this day. Gangs of youths from the opposing sides would arm themselves with rocks and sticks and would fight each other on the bridge. It was tribal warfare at its worst. Now, Dinas in English means city, but Dinas was no city. It was mainly a village of council houses and didn't have a big population. Trealaw in English means the town of Allow and had a much larger population. Today's story is a memory of one of the many battles over the bridge. Trealaw had a few advantages over their arch enemies from across the river. Superior numbers and an elevated position. It was over 200 steps downhill to the bridge from the Trealaw side. But the Dinas boys did have an ace up their sleeve. On their side they had the boys from the Conks. The boys from the Conks got their name from the concrete houses they lived in on the opposite side of the valley. A street of council-built concrete houses that nobody from outside of the street ever ventured into. Life must have been tough growing up in the Conks, but it did produce some real hard buggers who had a deserved reputation. But even up against the Conk boys, we were confident. How hard can they be? There's only one street. We had loads of streets. Bring it on, Conk boys. There were about 40 of us on the Trealaw side, and only about 15 of them. Victory for Trealaw was assured, or so we thought. The battle lines were drawn. The Trealaw boys were ready. We were at our end of the bridge. The Dinas boys were at their end. Somebody shouted, "Charge!" and off we went, down the bridge, throwing bricks as we run at the enemy on the other side. They would be running away very soon, we all thought, as we got closer to them. But something not quite right here. The Dinas boys were not running away. They mounted a countercharge and started to charge us, led by one of the Conk boys, Mickey Jones. I have to admit, we started to slow down. They were supposed to run away, not run at us. Our earlier confidence quickly evaporated as the Dinas boys showed no sign of slowing their attack on our position. Such was the reputation of the Conk boys. A few boys on our side stopped charging and turned around, heading back up the bridge to our side. The few quickly turned into all of us. We were all retreating. The Dinas boys were still chasing us. They chased us up the bridge. They chased us up the 200 steps. They were in Trealaw now, a village that some of them had never been in before. It was turning into a day of total humiliation for the Trealaw boys. They chased us up the 200 steps and across the pathway to the Don field. It was here that everybody stopped and drew a few breaths. We were all knackered. Insults and a few bricks were thrown at each other across the field as both sides reassessed their positions. And then it happened. Trealaw got reinforcements. Trealaw's bravest boy at the time arrived. Look out, Conk boys. Trevor Trout just joined the battle. Trevor quickly assessed the situation. He armed himself with some bricks and offered up some inspirational words. Follow me, boys. And off we went, running across the Don field. Mickey Jones and the Dinas boys were in shock. They thought they'd won the day. They beat a hasty retreat as Trevor led us on our counter-attack. We chased them down the path to the 200 steps. We chased them down the 200 steps. We chased them down the bridge. We chased them across the bridge. The Trealaw boys had retaken the ground we had lost earlier in the day. We claimed victory on the day as we had won the last major skirmish. But looking back now, it was probably a draw. In fairness to the Dinas boys, it is a testimony to the courage of them boys at the time that they always turned up for the early fight, despite their lower numbers and the elevated position of their enemies across the river. I believe the footbridge is closed now, but it is a bridge with a lot of history, because many people will have their own memories of the battle at Trealaw and Dinas Bridge.